got 3 teams over here. So basically, you have to put a whole bunch of rubber bands around your pumpkin and try to smash the pumpkin or explode it. Just like the watermelon challenge, but pumpkin.
But make it festive.
Make it festive. First one to explode their pumpkin basically wins, and that's gonna be us. Set! Go! Very hard. Guys, these ones aren't stretchy enough. Ow! Ow!
What is y'all's strategy?
So basically we get a whole bunch of them.
And then we stretch them.
And then we work together to pull it
our
over.
tiny
Because if you
hands
just use one, it's not gonna happen.
It's ridiculous. Oh, a lot of the big ones. Oh, that sucks. Put it on your wrist.
If you keep quiet on your face, if you keep quiet and focus, it can't hurt you.
I lied. That was.
Katie, what's going on?
I don't know. We're struggling.
That'd be worth it once we win.
One of our strategies did not work. My finger's stuck. Who decided to do push? Sure. Really, I need you. Oh, it's not gonna work.
Personally, right now, I think Tier and Harley are doing the best. They got more rubber bands on theirs.
Jordan's trying to use the pocket knife. Disqualified. Disqualified. You see nothing.
I'd face.
Stop. We could. Oh.
got tunnel vision right now. This is all.
I've got
No,
but that's been there. That's been there.
It is.
2 on our finger to 3, and then switching off.
They're still worried about it. It's like, why?
Just black it out.
Talking that smack talk.
It's like talking that.
Ours kind of looks like it.
She looks a little funky from this one.
If I were a betting man, I'd say y'all are next right now. At this point in the game. I swear that was the chair. Hey guys, welcome to Elevate. I am glad that you are here with us today. I'm gonna just dive right in. Today, we're talking about patience.
Number 14, declining to speak first. Makes them feel uncomfortable, puts you in control.
I am declining to speak first.
All right, so I have a story to tell you. It's about this guy I knew who experienced the friend zone. If you don't know what the friend zone is when you like someone, you have a crush on someone, and they don't exactly have a crush on you. Long story short, you like someone, and they just like you as a friend, and you are in the friend zone. But anyways, the 10-year friend zone, I knew a guy who liked this girl in middle school, and he had this huge crush on her. When he kind of showed interest, even though he never really said anything, she did not exactly like him back. But nonetheless, he liked her a lot, and he would say things to her and about her and just to his friends, like, hey, how much he liked her and stuff like that. And this lasted for 10 years. Have you ever been in the friend zone? It's not fun. Anyway, so he liked her for 10 years, and this is like spanning through middle school and high school and in college and post-college. Nothing really happened until about 10 years later, where they finally started dating, and then they got married, then they had 2 kids, and everything was happily ever after. Okay, number 1, it wasn't all that simple. Number 2, this story is about me and my wife, Jessica. Yes, I was in the friend zone for many years. I think I round up to 10 years years, but it was about 10 years. It was about a decade. But long story short, I had to wait a long time to date Jessica. I had to wait an incredibly long time to be in a relationship with this girl who I was madly in love with. And the reason why I'm sharing this story with you today is because today we're talking about patience. We are continuing our series titled Bear Fruit. And in the fourth fruit of the Spirit, the characteristic of God, that fourth one is patience. But yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about patience, what it is, how we get it, and how we use it. Today's message is titled Long Distance Running. Let's do this thing. All right, guys, so to dive in this week, we're going to start off in Hebrews chapter 12, starting in verse 1. It says this: Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that is so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Are any of you guys fans of the Olympics? So I personally love the Olympics. It's honestly kind of one of my most favorite things to watch every 2 years, right? Yeah, because they're 4 years apart, but there's 2 of them, so every 2 years. I love seeing competitors from every country representing their country and just doing the things that they've been training and working so hard to do. So speaking of the Olympics, second question for you. Do you know who holds the world record for the 100-meter race or 100-meter sprint? I bet you probably do. You probably have heard his name. The name is Usain Bolt, and he is from Jamaica, and he is incredibly fast. He ran the 100-meter sprint in 9.58 seconds.
Paul ist der schnellste aus den Blöcken. Jetzt kommt er und jetzt ist Usain Bolt nicht zu halten. Nein, er gewinnt.
That's really fast. I mean, the dude went 100 meters in under 10 seconds. That's fast. And to top it off, he also holds the 200-meter record at 19.19 seconds. That's incredible. Usain Bolt, like him or dislike him, he is an incredibly fast human being. But I have another question for you. Do you know who happens to hold the world record for the marathon? In case you didn't know, marathon is 26 miles long. It's a long race, a very long race, 26 miles. So the guy who holds the world record for the marathon is a guy from Kenya named Eliud, I can't do it. Eliud Kipchoge. Sorry, I can't pronounce his name, but he is from Kenya. And just last year in October, he ran the marathon, 26 mile race marathon. He did it in less than 2 hours. Think about this, friends. This human being, a man, ran 26 miles, a marathon, in less than 2 hours. In fact, the official time was 1 hour and 59 minutes and I think 40-something seconds. The guy is a machine. And to top it all off, last year he was the first to break the 2-hour mark for the marathon. That's pretty incredible. But here's a funny thing. I bet you most of y'all didn't know who Eliud was. I bet you guys probably have heard of Usain Bolt, but have never heard of this other guy. And I think I know the reason why. Short distance running is just more attractive than long distance running because it's quick, it's fast. And that's the same way we look at life, is we are more attracted to the quick, fast things than we are the long, patient things. We have a stigma in our culture and in our heads and in our brains that patience is a bad thing. When we think about patience, it's usually in a negative context, like I have to be patient for this thing. We're more attracted to getting things done quickly than we are in the long run, the long stretch of things. And today, that's kind of really what we're talking about. We're talking about patience. Now, speaking of patience, the original Greek word for patience is macrothumia. And another word for this, another translation that we get from this macrothumia is long suffering. Doesn't that sound amazing? I mean, this kind of proves my point that patience, in its definition even, doesn't sound very attractive, doesn't sound very fun, long suffering. But hear me out, just like the long distance runner, just because something takes longer and just because something might have some suffering in it does not mean it's going to not be worth it at the end. Just because something is long suffering doesn't mean that there can't be good come from it. Even Usain Bolt in this way, he practiced a lot to get to where he was. Even if he does have natural talent, he still had to practice and have suffering to get to where he got. And I think what we can learn from this is that patience isn't always so pretty. It's not always attractive, but it's always beneficial. And today I want to talk about some of the benefits and how we can use patience to our benefit and how we can make it a part of not just something that we pray for and something that we can hope for, but something that we can actually truly live out. today I want to get a little more practical. Since we're talking about the characteristic of God and the fruit of the Spirit, I want to talk about what patience looks like for us in 3 different areas of our lives and how we can use patience and how we can practically see the signs and how we can use patience most effectively in those 3 different areas of our lives. So let's dive in.
What's up, you guys? It's Harley, and I have a fun fact for you all today. We are discussing the history of the marathon. So, pretty much a Greek messenger named Pheidippides, I believe is how you pronounce it, had ran all the way from a place called Marathon, where a battle was taking place, to Athens, Greece, and to inform them that they had defeated the Persians in war. It was 25 miles long, the distance between those 2 places, and Pheidippides ended up dying in the process due to exhaustion after his long run. But yeah, that is why it is called the marathon. Boom.
So to get point number 1 started, we're going to Ecclesiastes chapter 7, starting in verse 8. The end of anything is better than its beginning. Patience is better than pride. Keep your temper under control. It is foolish to harbor a grudge. Never ask, oh, why were things so much better in the old days? It's not an intelligent question. Point number 1 is patience for myself. Patience is better than pride. What does that statement even really mean? Okay, so I thought about this. Have you ever been on the road and maybe you were driving or maybe you were just a passenger and you saw someone on the road get road rage? Maybe they were behind you and they couldn't get past you, and maybe as finally they got to get past you, they got really mad. Maybe they gave you a friendly hand signal or something like that. Think about this. Anytime someone truly experiences road rage, it's usually because they don't have patience. I mean, usually that driver is impatient. That driver is being selfish in this moment of, hey, I want to get past this person, or this person is being too slow, or this person is just in my way, and I want to get past them. This verse actually kind of explains what we see a lot on the road today, is that patience has everything to do with ourselves. I mean, think about it. A lot of times when it comes to patience, it first starts with us, is how are we dealing with things around us? Being impatient, it truly does mean being selfish. It means thinking of yourself first instead of others. And just like we see on the road, sometimes it results in really negative things. So I wanted to go over a few red flags, a few ways that we see impatience in our lives, and a few ways that we can actually improve and show patience within ourselves. So being patient means not getting disgruntled when something takes longer than what you think it's going to take. Now, I know that sounds obvious, but hear me out. Do you ever get frustrated or upset or even really upset when something takes a lot longer than it should? I will be completely 100% honest with you. I get extremely frustrated sometimes when my technology takes forever. And this is coming from a guy who used to live with dial-up. I get mad when my game that I'm playing online takes forever to load. I get upset when something around me is taking longer than what I want to do. But think about this. Impatience means getting frustrated and getting mad when things begin to not keep up with you. And sometimes it doesn't even really matter. I mean, does it really matter if you didn't get that light? Does it really matter if that game didn't load as fast as you wanted to? Is it really going to change your life that much? Patience has to do with being able to deal with the little things. Also, practically, it means being patient with yourself and the goals that God has given you. If God has given you a goal, if He's given you a purpose, if He's given you a mission, He's going to give you the strength to be able to get it done. But one of the most frustrating things in trying to accomplish the goals that God has given us is that we want to, just like I mentioned earlier, we want to get to that now. We want to finish this thing right here, right now. And sometimes when we fail or when we mess up and when we don't do as well as we thought we were going to do, we get mad at ourselves. We get impatient with ourselves that, Tim, why can't you just do better? Tim, why are you taking so long to master this thing? And that's such a toxic and honestly unbiblical way to look at patience. When we are called to do something in our lives, we're called to go by God's pace. And that means sometimes we're going to fail. And sometimes it means we're not going to get there as fast as we would like to. But if we can begin to focus on just taking our time, being patient, and still working hard with those things, I think it's going to make us not just get there easier, but honestly, it's going to save us a lot of frustration. And here's a few indicators of impatience. Impatience usually leads to anger. It leads to frustration. It leads to rash decisions. This is a big one. A lot of times we make really dumb mistakes because we're impatient and we want results now. But guys, let me tell you, if God's put something in your heart, don't try to take the shortcut. Be patient, work hard, and take your time. So for point number 2, we're going to Psalms chapter 37, starting in verse 5. Give yourself to the Lord, trust in him, and he will help you. He will make your righteousness shine like the noonday sun. Be patient and wait for the Lord to act. Don't be worried about those who prosper or those who succeed in their evil plans. So for the first point, I wanted to talk about patience for yourself or myself, because ultimately it comes back down to us. But for some of us, patience with ourselves is not that big of a deal. But one thing I do know is that it's oftentimes harder to have patience for others. Think about it. How many times have you been in a situation where you have thought, wow, I wish this person was quicker. I wish this person would be at my level. It's probably quite often, or at least it's happened a lot in your life. Patience with others is hard because a lot of times, and this is a quote I've heard before, a lot of times we judge others by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. And what that means is that a lot of times when we mess up, when we do things that are wrong, when we make a mistake, we often go, well, I meant to do this though. I know I messed up, but I'm giving myself credit, or at least I tried, or whatever that means. But when it comes to others, when it comes to people in our lives, it's a lot easier for us to go, that's who they are. Man, they need to work better. They need to do better. They need to just be better. That's often what it comes down to. Even if we don't say it out loud, that's a lot of times what we think and how we kind of perceive people as their actions. But patience is showing empathy towards others who don't meet our standards. It means being patient for those who might not do the things that we would do or how we would do them. Quite honestly, everyone is different and we all live life differently. We have our own experiences. We go through different moments and through different scenarios, and so we are not all going to do the same things the same way. And that's really important, because if we can choose to look at life and look at people through that filter, that everyone's different, they've gone through their own experiences, we can begin to have more patience for others. Another way of looking at this is that patience is produced, it's made in us when we choose to look for the growth in others. For example, let's say you're in a classroom and you are going through the class and you understand everything perfectly. Then class is almost over. You're ready to get out, you're ready to go to lunch, whatever it means. But then as the class is about to end, this one student raises their hand and goes, wait a second, I didn't catch that, or I don't understand. And maybe they keep asking and asking. I can see how a lot of us can get impatient with that person. But when we choose to look for the growth in people, when we choose to go, wow, this person is looking to grow, or how can I help them get better? How can I help them grow? It helps create patience in us, because we then feel not sorry for people, but we want to feel empathetic for people. We want to go, how can I make you better? And it also creates the patience for ourselves. When we choose to be patient for others, it can often help us be patient for ourselves. It's like this fun little circle vacuum of when we help others, we help ourselves, and when we help ourselves, we help others. And another way I look at this is, for those of you who might have thought this, wow, I'm so glad I'm not that immature anymore. Let me pop your bubble a little bit. You're always going to be immature to someone else. Something you do, something you say, something that just comes out of you is going to look or be immature towards someone else. And this is not to discourage you, it's because everyone is always going to have that. We are always growing. We're always improving ourselves. We're always, if we are truly focused on becoming all that God has called us to be, there is always going to be room for improvement. So if you can begin to look at people as God designed them, God built them, and that they are still growing in different areas, and you too, you're growing yourself in different areas, we can begin to be patient with each other. If we can choose to acknowledge that, hey, none of us have it all together, that none of us are perfect, that we're all taking our own time with our own different areas to grow, then it's going to help us be patient with one another and to live a better, fulfilling, patient life. For point number 3, we're going to Romans chapter 12. Love one another warmly as Christian brothers and sisters, and be eager to show respect for one another. Work hard and do not be lazy. Serve the Lord with a heart full of devotion. Let your hope keep you joyful, be patient in your troubles, and pray at all times. Point number 3 is patience with God. Now, the reason why I word this point differently from the first 2 points is because when it comes to our patience with God, it's a journey with Him. Because let's think about this. In Galatians, we read that patience is a characteristic of God. It's who He is. And so when it comes to patience in our relationship with God, it's truly about how are we being patient with Him, and how are we patient in His presence, and how can we choose to be patient, not just for Him, but with Him. Have you ever thought about how do we ask for patience? If God is patience, then how do we ask for God? How do we ask for him and his patience? And a lot of people assume to pray for patience. And that's not a bad thing, but I think it's incomplete. Because think about it. Patience is not a feeling. It's an experience. It's not just a feeling, it's a moment, it's a being, it's a part of your moments and your season in life. And so when you ask for patience, you're not asking for a feeling, but rather you're asking for an experience. And that can be really scary and just completely like, oh, I don't want that. Because honestly, we don't want to experience patience. We often don't want to experience having to wait for things for a long time. But when we choose to love God and when we choose to be patient with him, we are asking him to present us with experiences that will help grow us, that will help make us better, that will help make us be closer to him. And so the most effective way that we can ask for patience in our lives is to ask for experience. So that way we can practice patience. We can practice having the patience for ourselves and for others in our lives. It's not fun. It doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound enthusiastic. It doesn't sound like something you want to do. But when we choose to ask for patience, God will provide us with opportunities. And as we get more and more opportunities to be patient, it does become easier. It does become more second nature to be patient for ourselves and others. And that's how we receive more patience. And lastly, I also wanted to phrase this last point, being patient with God, because we're going to have to be patient for what he has for us. And it's easier said to wait on his timing, to trust him in his process. But that's not always easy. When I was writing down my notes for this message, I thought about Abraham. And I thought about what he had to wait for. If you don't know his story, Abraham, he lived a long time. I think it was up to 75 when God promised him that he was going to get a son. And God didn't give him a timeline. He didn't say, hey, you're going to have a child by the end of next year, or hey, it's going to take you 10 years. And so Abraham, he waited 25 years to get a son. That's a long time. And that's a lot of patience. That's a lot of long suffering. And it can be extremely frustrating when you know that God has planted something in your life. He's given you a goal, he's given you a dream, and you don't see it happen very quickly. Let me reassure you that there are so many examples of this long suffering in the Bible. There's so many examples, like with Abraham and Moses and Joshua and Joseph. There's so many examples of people in the Bible who had to wait and be patient and to trust in God. And honestly, that's what it comes down to. It comes down putting our hope, putting our trust, putting our faith in Jesus and knowing that he has a plan. He sees everything, and that the reason why we have to wait sometimes, whether it's short or long, is so that way he can help grow us, to prepare us for the things that he's promised us. Let me encourage you today. If you're having to experience long suffering right now, maybe you're in the friend zone, maybe you're waiting for a dream to come true, maybe you're waiting for your accomplishments that you've worked so hard to do, maybe you're waiting for that final diploma, maybe you're waiting for that check, maybe you're waiting for that job. Let me encourage you. Just take that time to be patient, to be long suffering, to focus on Jesus, to put your attention on him, just like what we just read in this passage of scripture, to focus on Jesus. And let me tell you right now, just like I said before, if you can choose to have patience in your life, it might stink in the moment, it might be hard in the moment, but it's always going to be beneficial. It's always going to grow you, and it's always going to bring you closer to Jesus.
Thank you guys for joining us on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed the service and the wonderful game we had.
Yes, and speaking of, we hope that you will like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the little bell notification thing so you get all the notifications of when we post to our YouTube. Guys, thank you so much for checking us out. We hope you have a fantastic week. See you next time. Peace. Bye.
Darn tootin', we finna have a dandy old time, you hear?